Hey, this is CineSpirit here. Today we're going to be doing a Raspberry Pi tutorial, specifically focusing on the Raspberry Pi Zero without the wireless. You can do this with the wireless as well, but I've just bought the normal without wireless one. So what we're going to be doing is connecting the Raspberry Pi, setting it up using just a computer via a USB cable. So this will allow us to set up SSH and get in and set up anything else we need without having to connect to the internet or anything like that. This is going to involve really the beginning to end, so we're going to focus on the installing of the system, software, all that Raspbian, and then going to, connecting it to the laptop using certain commands you have to use, as well as focusing on the issues that can come up doing this, which are not stated anywhere else, especially recently. A lot of people have done this about 2 years ago, and it's changed since then. But there's a lot of issues, and this is going to go over them. Hopefully, it'll be really helpful for you. So, continue on, and we'll get on to it. So here we have the Raspberry Pi. As you can see, this will probably be really hard to set up because all you have here is the 2 micro USB ports and the mini HDMI. And as this being the non-Wi-Fi enabled version, setting this up without USB can be quite difficult. What we require is obviously the Raspberry Pi and a micro SD card. It has to be probably 8 GB or higher. Maybe a class 10 would be perfect. But to be honest, I found this lying around and it works just as well, especially for what I'm going to be using it for. Along with that, we're going to want to have a micro SD card adapter. This is so that we can install Raspbian using our PC first, and then once we've done with that, we won't need this anymore, but this is just for the initial installing. So let's go install Raspbian. So you've inserted the SD card. The first thing you're going to do is now install a Raspberry Pi operating system. The operating system is going to be Raspbian. This can be done through the Raspberry Pi Imager software that Raspberry Pi offer. This is so much more simpler than it was before, where you had to download the software on its own and use a third-party system just to write it to an SD card. So with this, we can launch it here, and we can go and choose the OS that we want. We're looking for Raspberry Pi OS 32-bit. You can install the Lite if you want. It's a 0, so it doesn't really need too much. So this will be good enough. We choose the SD card. This is the 8.1 GB that I placed in earlier. We've put that in, and now we can write to it. Just press yes. This just means it's going to format your card beforehand, so just press yes. Now the software is finished writing to the SD card, we can press continue, exit out this, go to File Explorer, then go down to this PC, and what we will see is that we'll see a boot L, which is my boot drive for the Raspberry Pi operating system. We can go to eject if you want, but the Raspberry Pi software ejects it automatically, so pull it out, put it back in, and if you then click refresh, so now you'll see the boot drive and it is loaded up, and you can see here it's loaded up. So click inside and you'll see all this has been installed. This is pretty much just the operating system, and the 2 sections that are really important to this are the Config.txt and the Cmdline.txt. You're going to want to open the Config.txt first. I'm going to open it with Notepad++, which I've got here. You're going to want to scroll down to the bottom, and you'll see this, hopefully, the Pi 4 and the All tabs. And what you want to click is you want to click down here. And with down here, you'll want to insert this dtoverlay DWC2 text. This will create an overlay on the Raspberry Pi so that it will boot straight into the Raspberry Pi operating system to the desktop. So with that, you want to press save. And save that like that. Make sure you can put another line underneath, that can help. So once that's done, you want to open the CMD line. This is one you have to be more specific about because it relies on spaces rather than separate lines. So if you go to edit, you'll see somewhere called root weight and this is where you want to put in a space. And with that space, you want to go back to the description of this video where I'll put these two pieces of text that you need to input, and you want to click the modules load DWC2, go back into Cmdline and paste that right here. Make sure there's one space after the root weight and one space after the ether. So yeah, that's all good, and then you want to press save. So that's all done for editing the files. The next thing you want to do is just go to new, create text document, and type in SSH and get rid of the TXT at the end and just make it an SSH file. Click yes to file name extension, and that will enable SSH on the Raspberry Pi without you having to enable it through the desktop itself. So this is all good, and you want to go back to this PC, and then your really next bet is to go to eject. There you go, that's ejected. Now you want to take out your SD card from your SD card reader. So with Raspberry installed on the micro SD card, we're going to take out the micro SD card and place it inside the Raspberry Pi Zero. With this installed, we're going to use a micro USB cable to attach this to the PC. This is going to be a data cable rather than a charging cable, so cheaper charging cables might not work, but to be honest, every USB cable I used for this, they all worked pretty well. So this will look like here. This is one I got from Amazon Alexa. So just place this in. Make sure to put it into the second micro USB port instead of the first one, because that's a power port, and this one will connect it and make it readable for the PC. With the Raspberry Pi now connected to your PC, you should hear a noise signifying that it's been accepted by the PC, or like recognized as a removable device. The way you're going to see that this actually worked is you want to go to network connection settings or view network connections, and you want to see this virtual Ethernet device, which is the Raspberry Pi, listed here. For me, this didn't happen. You know, I heard that it connected, but it just didn't appear in the actual in the network connections. So I was just like, oh my god, what's happened? Have I done it right? Did the process over and over again, and in the end I did it correctly. It was just an issue with the driver. This Windows 10 PC, you know, it didn't accept it as a network connection, and instead accepted it as just a COM port. So what you really want to do is go to Control Panel, go to Hardware and Sound, Device and Printers. Once that loads, you'll see it here. So for me, it's listed as a USB serial device. That's what it listed before, but it was listed in the unspecified, you know, for these ones that don't have any connections. But for me, it's listed up here because I did install I haven't since then installed the drivers. But if you're having this issue, your best bet is that you want to go to the link that's in the description and download these drivers, which are here, called RNDIS. And these are network adapter drivers for you to download and attached to this serial port. To do that, on the idea that you've downloaded these drivers, you want to go to Properties, Hardware, you want to go to Properties again, then you want to go to Change Settings in the General tab, and then you'll see this USB serial device. You want to go to Driver, and here you'll have access to all the updating your drivers. You want to go to Update Driver, you want to go to Browse Computer for your driver. Here it's automatically placed where I wanted it, but you know, go to Browse, I put mine on desktop, easiest place to see, and then go to where you've installed it, which would be up here. Go to RNDIS, and then go to Next. It's installed the drivers, so that would have changed. It's shown it as a USB Ethernet RNDIS gadget. Click OK, and here we are. You'll see the name change, and most likely you'll see it go to Devices. So you'll have access, and then if we go back to Network Connections, as you can see there, it's now a virtual Ethernet connection, and is acting as Ethernet free. It will say identifying for a while. but just give that some time, and it'll just go straight. It'll accept it. So after that, your best bet is to go and download an application called Putty. I already have it installed. Down here, this is an SSH program that you can use to access any Linux programs. That's what I use it for. And then along with this, you'll want to download something called Bonjour. This has also been in the link description, and Bonjour is for those Mac users. It just adds I actually really don't know what it actually specifically does, but it allows you to SSH into this using the local host, and it requires the SSHing requires Bonjour to be added. I did that through, if you just type in Bonjour, you'll see the Bonjour print wizard, which I'll give you a link to. You download this, that's fine. You may not use it, but as long as it's active in your system, and it will be shown in the task manager. So once that's done, you want to go to Putty, and you'll see hostname. On the idea of maybe you've used this before. If you haven't, you'll see hostname once it's installed, and you'll want to insert in the hostname RaspberryPi.local. That will act as your virtual local host, so you'll be able to access that. It's not really virtual, but you'll be able to access it without you knowing the IP of the actual Raspberry Pi. So once it's done and you've completed the issue with the Ethernet connection, you'll just click open, and then what you should see is a system information pop up saying, do you trust this connection? You press yes, you get to the login. So your login is going to be Pi, because that's the default login for all new Raspberry Pis. Press enter, and then you'll see the Raspberry Pi logo. So you want to type password. You want to type in Raspberry, and once that's typed, it won't show up. You'll press enter. That's the default password as well that comes with every new system. And then, as you can see there, it's now allowing you access to SSH into the Raspberry Pi. So now you can edit any files, anything you need to create beforehand of connecting it to the internet. SSH is now active in there, and you have access. So hope you like this tutorial, and if you require any more information, please just write in the comments if you had any issues with this video, or you want to add anything. Please, write in the comments, write to me, contact me personally. And I will also be updating this on my website, where you can see the step-by-step tutorial. That will be up, sometime after this video has been posted. So hopefully you like this, and I will see you soon.